Most people build a garage for 2 cars. This family built one for 10 and then wrapped an entire home around it. What you're looking at isn't a barn. It isn't a house. It's a fortress for people who love their vehicles as much as they love where they sleep, and by the time this video's over, you're going to understand exactly why this floor plan is spreading across rural America in 2026. We're going to walk every wing of this thing, break down the real numbers behind a garage bigger than most people's entire house, get into the engineering that keeps it standing in hurricane-force wind, and by the end I'll show you one design flaw almost nobody talks about until it's already built. Stick around, the cost breakdown alone is going to surprise you. Before we go inside, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new here, and drop a comment telling me, would you actually live in a home built around a 10-car garage, or is this too much house for the cars? I read every single one. Picture a rectangle. Now picture that rectangle folding in on itself until all 4 sides connect, living space on 3 sides, and on the 4th, a garage wing long enough to swallow 10 vehicles whole. That's the O-shaped Barndominium, and it's one of the fastest growing custom layouts in the Barndo world right now. It's not actually a new idea. Courtyard-centered homes go back thousands of years, from Roman villas to Spanish haciendas to North African riads, but steel frame construction is what makes building one at this scale affordable for a regular family instead of just royalty. Why the shape matters. The genius of the O isn't just how it looks from a drone. Every single wing borders the courtyard, which means every room including the garage gets natural light and its own private outdoor connection, without ever facing the street or the neighbors. Compare that to a standard rectangular barndo, where half the rooms face a driveway and the other half face a fence line. The O flips that entirely. There's no bad side of the house. What's coming up in a minute, we're going to walk through exactly why families are choosing this layout over a normal garage. Then we're going inside every wing, every square foot. Stay with me because the garage wing alone is going to change how you think about what a garage even is. So why go this big? Talk to enough Barndominium owners and the same 3 reasons keep coming up. The collector first. Collectors. Classic cars, motorcycles, boats, RVs, tractors. Once you own more than 3 or 4 of anything with an engine, a standard attached garage just can't hold them, and off-site storage units get expensive fast, especially once you're paying monthly for years on end. A garage this size isn't a luxury for someone in that position. It's actually cheaper long-term than renting space somewhere else. The multi-generational family. Second, multi-generational living. The O shape naturally splits into separate wings, so parents, adult kids, or aging relatives can each have their own private entrance and living space while sharing one roof, one utility bill, and one property tax statement. That's a real financial advantage in 2026, with housing costs still squeezing multiple generations into fewer total homes. The landowner. Third, land. People building barndominiums are usually already sitting on acreage, so square footage itself is cheap compared to what the same footprint would cost inside city limits. When land isn't the limiting factor anymore, ambition takes over, and for a lot of these owners, the garage becomes just as much a statement as the house. One more thing worth saying, there's also a simpler reason underneath all of this. Barndominiums as a category are still landing well below traditional stick-built homes on a cost per square foot basis for equivalent finish levels, which means owners can put dramatically more total square footage, including something like a 10-bay garage, into the same budget a conventional home builder would spend on 4 walls and a 2-car garage. This is the wing everyone came here for. Roughly 4,200 square feet, 10 bays, a mix of standard 9-foot single doors and oversized 16-foot bays built wide enough for an RV or an enclosed trailer, epoxy-coated flooring throughout, a hydraulic vehicle lift bay for anyone doing their own maintenance, and a full mezzanine storage loft built above the back half of the wing for parts, tools, and anything too big for a closet. Putting the size in perspective for comparison, the average American 2-car garage measures somewhere between 400 and 576 square feet. This one wing alone is roughly 8 times that. To put it another way, this garage by itself is larger than the entire living space of most starter homes built in America today. What's actually inside? Owners building a wing like this typically split it into zones rather than one open bay: a detailing and wash zone near a floor drain, a workshop zone with a workbench and full electrical for power tools, EV charging stations wired into at least 2 or 3 of the bays, and a showroom zone up front where the collector-grade vehicles actually live, often with polished concrete or epoxy flake flooring specifically because it photographs and shows better than a plain slab. The trade-off hiding here, but here's the thing almost nobody mentions when they show off a garage like this. Everything I just described: the epoxy floor, the lift, the EV wiring, the mezzanine is upgrade cost on top of the base structure. A bare 10-car shell and a finished 10-car showroom are 2 completely different budgets, and we're going to get into exactly how different when we hit the cost breakdown in a minute. Here's where it gets technical, and honestly, this is the part most videos skip entirely. A garage wing this wide can't rely on the small load-bearing walls a typical house uses. It needs a clear span steel frame, meaning the roof structure carries the load without interior columns blocking the bays. That's a red iron or engineered post frame system, and it requires a stamped engineering plan specific to your local wind zone before any permit office will even look at it. Wind and structural safety. Most of the continental U.S. requires homes to be engineered for baseline wind speeds somewhere in the 90 to 115 mph range under current building code, with coastal and tornado-prone regions requiring meaningfully higher ratings. Steel framing has a real advantage here. FEMA data shows properly engineered steel frame structures can handle wind speeds 60 to 80 mph higher than a comparable wood-framed home, largely because bolted steel connections create a continuous load path from the roof all the way down to the foundation, instead of relying on nailed joints that can fail one at a time under pressure. Why 10 garage doors? Change the math on a build like this, that engineering matters even more than usual. Every garage door opening is a break in the wall, a point where wind can't be resisted the same way solid steel siding resists it. 10 openings means 10 separate wind load calculations, and the whole wing is only ever as strong as its widest, weakest door. Engineers typically spec wind-rated garage doors with reinforced tracks specifically for openings this large, and the roof diaphragm, the metal skin acting like a giant flat beam tying the whole structure together, has to be detailed carefully around each opening so the loads redistribute properly instead of concentrating at the doors. Fire resistance. One more safety edge worth mentioning: steel doesn't burn. In a structure storing fuel-powered vehicles, chemicals, and equipment, a non-combustible frame is a meaningful safety advantage compared to traditional wood framing, where the structure itself becomes fuel in a fire. Foundation considerations. It's also worth mentioning what's underneath all of this. 10 bays of vehicles, including potentially heavy equipment, trailers, or an RV, put significant point loads on a slab. Builders typically thicken the foundation and add reinforcements specifically under garage wings like this one, which is its own line item most people never think to budget for until their engineer brings it up. Now for the number you've been waiting for. And I want to be upfront with you, there's no single real property matching this exact layout that I could verify in sight. So what you're seeing is a realistic composite built from actual 2026 national pricing data, not one specific listing pulled off a real estate site. Living space. 3,400 square feet at a mid-range finished rate of roughly $150 per square foot in 2026 puts you around $510,000. That's a mid-tier finish. Solid surface counters, standard cabinetry, quality flooring, but not full custom millwork or imported stone. The garage wing. The garage wing is a completely different story, and this is the part almost nobody expects. Shop and garage space costs considerably less per square foot than living space, because it doesn't need insulation to living space standards, full HVAC, or interior finish work the same way a bedroom does. At roughly $45 per square foot for that 4,200 square foot wing shell, slab, and basic finish, you're looking at about $189,000. Everything else, add foundation reinforcement and site work, call it $55,000 to $70,000 given the extra slab thickness we just talked about, plus courtyard hardscaping and the covered breezeway porches connecting all 4 wings, another $25,000 to $40,000. If you want the garage upgraded to a true climate-controlled showroom, full HVAC, epoxy flake flooring, the works tack on another $40,000 to $60,000 on top of the base shell price. The total all-in, realistically, you're looking at somewhere between $680,000 and $950,000 depending on your region, your finish level, and how much of that garage you choose to heat and cool. For context, the 2026 national average for a finished Barndominium sits around $230,000. So this build runs roughly 3 to 4 times the typical project, and almost all of that premium is the garage wing, not the house itself. Regional reality check: where you build changes this significantly too. The same square footage in rural Texas or Oklahoma, where a lot of Barndominium builders are concentrated, can run meaningfully cheaper than the same plan built in the Mid-Atlantic or Northeast, purely because of local labor rates and material shipping costs. If you're pricing something like this seriously, get at least 3 local quotes before you trust any national average, including this one. A few things that surprised even me while researching this one: our vehicles sit parked about 95% of the time, meaning a garage this size isn't really about driving at all. It's about storage, protection from the elements, and honestly, pride of ownership. A standard American 2-car garage typically makes up just 13 to 15% of a home's total square footage. In this build, the garage wing is actually larger than the entire living space, a complete reversal of the normal ratio, and something almost no traditional appraiser is set up to evaluate correctly, which we'll come back to. Kit shell only Barndominium pricing runs as low as $20 to $50 per square foot, while fully custom, premium finished builds can climb past $200, even $365 in some high-cost markets. That's up to an 18-fold spread depending entirely on finish choices, which is exactly why two Barndominiums that look nearly identical from a drone can cost wildly different amounts once you're inside. And courtyard-style homes aren't a modern trend at all. Enclosed courtyard layouts have been used for thousands of years, purely because they cool the building naturally through shade and airflow, and because the surrounding walls buffer wind before it ever reaches the living space, the exact same principle that's now helping this steel structure perform better in a storm. It's not all smooth. Zoning first. Zoning. A lot of counties cap how large an accessory structure can be relative to the primary residence, and a garage wing bigger than the house itself can trip that limit fast, sometimes forcing a redesign in the middle of the permitting process, after money's already been spent on plans. Financing and appraisal. Second, financing. Lenders and appraisers often struggle to value oversized garage space the same way they value living square footage, since most comparable sales in their database simply don't have a 10-car wing to compare against. That mismatch can mean buyers need a larger cash down payment than a conventionally priced home of the same total cost would require, because the bank isn't willing to lend against the full appraised value. Water management. Third, water. An O shape with a fully enclosed courtyard sounds beautiful right up until you realize all four roof lines are draining toward the same center point. Without carefully engineered gutters and drainage running underneath the structure, that courtyard can turn into a standing pond during a hard rain. Climate control costs. Fourth, heating and cooling. 10 garage bays isn't optional if you want a true showroom instead of a glorified pole barn. Treating that wing like real living space rather than a basic shell can add tens of thousands of dollars most first-time Barndo buyers never budget for until it's already too late to change course. Resale is a narrower market. And fifth, worth being honest about, a home built this specifically around a car collection has a narrower resale market than a standard 4-bedroom house. The next buyer either needs the same lifestyle you do, or they're paying for square footage they'll never actually use. That's not a reason not to build it, it just means this is a home for someone building their forever property, not a flip. So is an O-shaped Barndominium with a 10-car garage brilliant, or is it overkill? Honestly, it depends entirely on what's actually parked inside that garage and how much you love it. For the right person, a serious collector, a multi-generational family who needs the space split, someone sitting on acreage with room to build exactly what they want, this isn't excess. It's the entire point of the house. For everyone else, it's a very expensive way to store a lawnmower. Let me know in the comments, would you actually build something like this, or would 3 or 4 bays be plenty for you? If you want more Barndominium breakdowns like this one, real numbers, real engineering, no fluff, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.